Hello, my name is Billy Peters. Welcome to your first guitar lesson. I'm going to go over some very basic things and some intermediate level things for the classical guitar. I believe that if you learn the classical guitar, you can learn easier songs for other acoustic instruments as well. If you want to play on a steel string in a camp setting or things like that, I think that's fine. But if you learn the classical guitar, that will enable you to also be able to play with a pick, other kinds of things. So that is why I teach classical guitar, and I think it's a very versatile instrument. I'm a Bible major at Maranatha Baptist Bible College and a guitar arranging minor. And there's several things that we're going to talk about today. We'll just start with tuning. Right now my guitar is in tune, but let's start by placing it a little out of tune. Okay, so I've had friends tell me before, oh, I played this terrible guitar, it wouldn't even play the right notes. Well, that's because the guitar wasn't tuned. If the guitar is not tuned, there's really not a whole lot of point in playing it. So if you take lessons from me, the first thing we're going to do is tune the guitar. So let's play a chord, find out if it's in tune. Not so much. So we're going to start with the A string. One investment you might want to make is investing in a tuner. It can look like this. They make them that attach to the headstock of the guitar. It's fine by me. I also tune my guitar by ear if I don't have a tuner available, and I'll demonstrate on how to do that. So I just look at the tuner. I'm playing the note E, on the high E string. There are two E strings. Here's the high, here's the low, for obvious reasons. The high string, okay, and I saw the green light, so that means, okay, E is good to go, and then we go to the next string. This is how I tune my strings. As I play the second string, I'm going to go to the 5th fret. All these metal strips indicate frets. So this is the open, this would be the 1st fret, this would be the 2nd fret, this would be the 3rd fret, this would be the 4th fret. I'm going to place just any finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string while the 1st string is left open. Now there's still a little bit of wobble. I can't tell if you can hear that on the video or not, but there's still some wobble there, so I'm going to adjust how the B string is tuned. The one exception to the 5th fret is when you're tuning the 2nd string. When you tune the 2nd string, you want to tune the 2nd string open with the 3rd string pressed on the 4th fret. Okay, so we know that's not right. Let me clarify, I'm not sure if I said the right words here. You're going to tune the string above in the open position and the string below it on the 5th fret, except in the case of when you're trying to tune your 2nd and 3rd strings. The 2nd string is going to be open and the 3rd string will be on the 4th fret. But for the rest of the strings, it will be the 5th fret. And that is tuned to my satisfaction, at least for the purpose of this lesson. Let's just talk a little bit about how to hold a classical guitar. You notice that this is elevated. My head is close to the level of my headstock, and that is to free my fingers to have easier access. When I'm doing runs, that's much more difficult to do if the guitar is, down here on my lap. I can't hit all the notes quite as clearly, things like that. If I ever have to play chords on this section of the guitar, it is much easier if the guitar is in this position as opposed to way down here where I can't reach it. So that is why my guitar is like this. There's a couple ways you can elevate your guitar. There are teardrop pads There's a special name for them, but they sit on your lap. Just imagine the shape of a teardrop, and that would elevate the guitar the same as a footstool would. I just use a standard footstool, and that'll elevate the guitar 5 to 6 inches off the ground. Again, it doesn't matter what setting you have your foot stand on, just so that the headstock of your guitar is about eye level with you. It comes to about your head. People may have differing opinions for that, but that basically works for me. Let's talk about just more of the technique of holding the guitar. There's 4 support positions. There's my right thigh, my left thigh, my chest, and my thumb. My thumb is my least reliable position so far as holding the guitar. I never want to bring my thumb up over. You'll see some different guitar players bringing their thumb over the guitar. Okay, that's not proper technique. That's not going to be good for your wrist, as you can see, depending on how much you do it. So your thumb is not going to be visible, but it is going to be behind the guitar, like that. So you have these 4 support positions. There are 2 thighs, your chest, and your thumb. Okay. How you want your right hand to look is just like this. I'll demonstrate it for you first and then explain what I'm doing. These 3 strings are your treble strings. You're not going to play your thumb a lot on these strings. These are basically for your melodies, okay? Okay, so that's just your melody strings. You're not going to do a whole lot of your thumb being up here. I'll see people pick up a guitar and they'll just pick out the notes one by one with their thumb. But your top 3 strings, you're going to designate your 3 fingers to. First finger, second finger, third finger. You're going to place them on the guitar like this. Guitar music, your fingers are going to be abbreviated with letters. Your thumb is P, your index is I, your middle finger is M, and your lazy finger here, your ulterior finger is A. Okay, so your top 3 fingers are going to be on the top 3 strings. My third finger, I guess it would be my 4th finger, okay, your A, this finger is going to be placed on the 1st string. My third finger is going to be placed on the 2nd string. My 1st finger is going to be placed on the 3rd string. I'm sorry, so just like this. Okay, and my thumb, any of the 3 bottom bass strings. Okay? Let's talk about playing beginner music. When you're playing your beginner music, one way that my guitar instructor taught me was only 1 line should be on your forearm here. You probably can't see it because of the light, but only 1 line on the guitar. People will be playing music and trying to figure out what's on the page, and they'll move their arm up here, or down here, or over here. Okay, that's way down the road advanced technique for when you play up here, then you play down here, then you play up here. Okay, for our purposes, you just want 1 line on your forearm here. If you have multiple lines all over the place, it's probably not a good thing, okay? One way to check yourself to see if you have good technique in your right hand is by this little trick right here. You should be able to see a triangle. I don't know if you can see, but you should be able to see a triangle between your thumb and your index finger. So you place your fingers together like so. And one way to make sure you're doing it right is by placing your thumb on the 3rd string and placing your index finger on the 4th string behind your thumb. And you leave your next 2 fingers up on the 1st and 2nd string, and then just undo. And this position right here is perfect right hand technique. So you can switch your fingers like this just to make sure, okay, is my index finger behind my thumb? It's going to be very difficult if you have your thumb behind your index fingers. That's not going to free up the natural way your fingers work. Whenever you pluck a string or pluck a chord, you want your fingers to come up into your hand. Don't be doing anything like this, or just freestyling it, or whatever. You want the most natural feeling of your fingers to be the technique that you're using on your guitar. So it's just like making a fist. Your fingers come right up into your hand, and that's how that works. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about left hand technique. First finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger. We'll talk about practicing chords here in just a little bit. Basically, you want your forearm to come up just, I don't know, at about this angle. I'm not sure how to describe the angle. You want your fingers to have a curved look. You should be able to see basically a tunnel between your fingers and the fretboard. So you have, I'm playing the C chord, I have an arc shape here, an arc shape here, and an arc shape here. And I can also fit my index finger underneath that tunnel. Okay, so I have my hand very close to the guitar. My thumb is not bent like this behind the guitar, my thumb is straight. So there I have playing the C chord. Now once we get into chords, this is going to be at least 3 weeks or so into the lessons. We're going to be working on just some beginner pieces, just teaching you how to use the various strings. The E string, the A string, the D string, the G string, the B string, and the E string. When you practice your chords, most people will go like this. Okay, I remember how the C chord was placed, so let's see, I have this finger here, and this finger here. The problem is, with the way our brain works, guitarists, you don't have time to go, okay, the C chord. Mary had a little lamb, okay, little lamb. Little lamb, okay, you need to know exactly, okay, the C chord, it's just like that, it goes straight to the chord. Think of it as one shape, not as this finger goes here, this finger goes here, and this finger goes here. That is the C shape. The way to practice your chords is by playing your 3 notes on which your fingers are placed. So your second string, your 4th string, and your 5th string. Play those 3 notes, and then release the pressure from the back of your thumb so that your fingers are only touching the string, but they're not pressing the strings down behind the frets. Okay? So it will sound like this. And you can practice your chords that way. So that was the C chord, then you can practice the G chord that way. And the D chord, and so on. The way you get better and better at this, you say, okay, well, this is easy enough, I can do that all day. The next step is taking your hand away from the guitar and placing it back on. The more and more you practice this, you should be able to take your hand, move it out here, wiggle it, doesn't matter. Your hand should be able to go straight back to the guitar and play the chord in that shape. Not going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then playing, but just going straight to the guitar. And that's how you can practice your chords. So whether it's the C chord, the D chord, the G chord, the E chord, or the D minor, or A minor, or D sharp diminished, or anything you want to do, okay? Just make sure that your fingers go straight to the chord and you're not practicing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you want to learn your shapes, and that'll aid you also is when you're reading your music. If you're playing a classical piece and you have to play this arpeggio, whenever you see these notes, you may not recognize that that is the G7 chord, but as soon as you play, you'll be able to realize, wow, that shape right there is the G7, and that'll assist you in reading your music. You'll be able to see the shapes of the chords you're playing while you're practicing your music. So that's a little bit more advanced. One guitar tool you might want to invest in is the capo, and I would use that to illustrate. I don't have one on me at the moment, but let's take the C chord for example. This is the C chord, and this is the A chord. However, the way the guitar is structured, I could demonstrate with this is how a capo works that you'll want to invest in. You play the A chord here. Now if I do what's called barring on the first fret, that now becomes the B flat chord, or the A sharp chord. So there's A sharp, here's B, and here is C. Can you tell the resemblance there between the two chords? The exact same notes, but different shapes on the guitar. The way the scales are lined up, if you start with a key of C, it spells the word caged. C-A-G-E-D. So you have the C chord with the C chord shape. Then you'll have the C chord with the A chord shape. Then you'll have the C chord with the G chord shape. Then you'll have the C chord with the E chord shape and the D chord shape. But all of those are the C chord. And that's why capos work the way they do, which is why I can play a song in the key of D, but by using the C chords. If I didn't know the chords for the key of D, I could place the capo on the second fret and play. See the C shape here? I could play the C chords. So that's basically how chords work on the guitar. It's very movable. It's much different from the piano, where the shape for that chord is always going to be the same, which makes reading guitar music a little bit more difficult at first. But then as you continue to progress in reading your music, all these shapes and things you'll find to be very helpful as you continue to study the classical guitar. Thanks for coming aboard and being here for your first lesson. I enjoy studying with you in the future, and I hope to see you again soon. God bless.